Over the last decade, Michael has championed and supported the rights of law-abiding Texans to own and use firearms. He is the owner of Central Texas Gun Works, a veteran of the United States Army, and has achieved national in such prestigious media outlets such as Forbes magazine, Fox Business News, CNN Money, AOL, BBC World News, Huffington Post, and the New York Times. Cargill vigorously defends lawful gun ownership in this country without regard to party politics. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
Good day, Austin, Texas, the live music capital of the world. Let's praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. That's right. And let me tell you, we got some breaking news coming out of Austin, Texas, from the Austin Police Department. Also, an entire family, very sad news here, an entire family was killed during a robbery at a gun range in Grantville, Georgia. Also, APD, the assistant police chief's husband, was suspended for not taking a report of racism seriously. APD has a lot to say about racism and equality. We're going to hear some video and talk about that. In other news, a study only done in California. That's right. By Stanford University, researchers, they find that higher homicide risk in homes with handguns. But unfortunately, they're claiming this is a study by the entire United States. According to Stanford University, in the United States, homeowners who possess firearms tend to have higher homicides, but they only surveyed people in the state of California. I call fake news. Also, Neiman Marcus in Chicago uses gun-sniffing dogs to make arrests. And the suspect in the Sacramento mass shooting was released early, weeks prior to the shooting, despite a district attorney's protest. And I got a question for you. Which U.S. president is responsible for criminal depression? Which U.S. president is responsible for allowing the nutcases that we're seeing all around Austin, Texas, Los Angeles, California, New York City, Chicago, Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, all these nutcases that we're seeing roaming around the city? What U.S. president is responsible for these nutcases roaming around without being in a facility in order to get help or assistance? I got some bad news for you. And let me tell you, the truth always hurts. You might want to sit down and get a little drink ready for this one. That's right. Take a look at this video here. So an entire family was killed during a robbery at a gun range in Grantville, Georgia. Listen to this.
The lock, stock, and barrel shooting range. The owners, Tommy Hawk and his wife Evelyn, and their 19-year-old grandson Luke were all shot and killed. Luke's father, Richard, also serves as a Coweta County coroner and is the one who found their bodies. An initial investigation reported 40 guns were stolen, as well as a DVR player that contained security camera footage. Police Chief Steve Whitlock says he was on scene today, having been there since the night before. He says Hawks were his dear friends.
I was here Tuesday talking to him. The assistant chief was here Wednesday talking to him. I mean, we stop by here, I'm not going to say daily, but we stop by here at least once or twice a week. So it's really hard. It's really hard to come in here and accept it. We can't say accept. Just come in and see what's going on. It's just it's an awful thing for this town right here.
And so, former Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosive, an ATF agent, believes that the shooter or shooters likely knew the victims. Scott Sweeto said gun store burglaries are common, but robberies are extremely rare because people know the owners will probably be better armed than them, and the thieves normally wait until the store is closed. Now, one of the things that, they find historically, in cases like this is when looking at guns for burglaries is that people know what they're targeting, according to what Sweeto had to say. And this ATF agent says, he knows all about gun store burglaries as the former special agent in charge for the ATF Atlanta. He believes that the shooters had been to lock, stock, and barrel shooting range before shooting and killing store owners Tommy and Evelyn Hawk. and their 19-year-old grandson, Luke. A family friend said that the Hawks were a loving Christian couple who would do anything for anyone. Evelyn's niece said the family's in shock and isn't ready for an interview yet. She describes her aunt and uncle as an amazing, beyond words, and down-to-earth people who didn't deserve this. Now, it would not surprise a lot of people that all at once that, this is going to be solved, it will be solved, and that the people, were either familiar with the location because they have been in there multiple times, and that some other sort of inside knowledge about what was going on inside that store. So these guys are going to be caught. The ATF, they always get their man or woman, let me tell you, because there's so many different tools that they use to catch these criminals. I can't even get into the details of it, but we're talking like cell phone. There's a cell phone tower. 9 times out of 10, this idiot probably brought his cell phone with him, and they're going to figure out, what cell phones were in the area at that time. Also, I guarantee you there are other cameras at intersections, somewhere near this place. What vehicles pass by that intersection. So just because you took the security camera's footage, the video from the actual store, you're going to get caught. ATF, they always get their man or woman. Police report more than 3 dozen guns were stolen during this triple homicide. They're thinking at least 40 guns were stolen. And, we encourage people to get an alarm system. There are other tools that we use in the gun store to track guns that are being stolen. Not going to tell you what those tools are. But whenever a gun is stolen from the gun store, there's a way to figure out, which one the criminals actually took and to track the criminals. It takes time to lock those things up, either by putting steel cables through them or by physically taking them off the shelves and locking them in a safe, according to what the ATF agent had to say. So we encourage people to lock your guns up at night. Even in a gun store, you need to lock them up. Lock them up, get a steel gate, use multiple locks, use multiple doors. Make sure there's at least 4 levels of security. That way it slows that person down, so that way you can contact police and use an alarm system. Alarm systems are very important. ATF is offering $15,000 reward for information leading to this arrest. And like I said, they will be caught. We're talking 40 guns were stolen out of Georgia from this family. A family, husband, wife, grandson, shot and killed inside their gun store while they're closing up for the night in Georgia. You know who these people are. Let's bring them to justice. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Peace, this is Maj Toure. You're listening to Come and Talk It Radio with Michael Cargill.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And you know, that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
That's right. An entire family was killed during a robbery at a gun range in Grantville, Georgia. Also, APD Assistant Police Chief's husband was suspended for not taking a report of racism seriously. Now, this is actually pretty odd and strange because, you know, you go back to the Dusterhoff Chronicles, you know, where, you know, assistant police chief, or what was he? No, it wasn't assistant.
Commander.
He was commander. Commander Dusterhoff. That's right. So he was actually fired by the Austin
Commander
Police Department.
Jokerhoff.
He was fired by the Austin Police Department, you know, for several things, you know.
Including what?
Is it Topeka? I learned that.
Petechia?
Is it what is it?
Petechia.
Petechia. What did I say? Topeka?
Talking about the small blood bruises.
Yeah, when you doing
Petechia.
But say it again.
Petechia.
So when you're
petechia.
having intersex, you're having intercourse, and you wrap your hand around the throat of the person to the point that their vessels, their veins, you know,
Break.
They break.
Yes, they bust.
They bust or protrude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. So going back all the way back there, you know, there was an initiative that was started, you know, in Austin that said, hey, we need to do something different with the Austin Police Department. We need to take, you know, racism. We need to take, any type of discrimination, sexism, whatever. We need to take this stuff serious. So they started an initiative where they, you know, did a great job in hiring, you know, or promoting, you know, female officers and people of different races and nationalities and backgrounds and all this stuff. You have an assistant police chief who happens to be a black female with the Austin Police Department. And so, you know, she's now the chief of staff, you know. And so, but unfortunately, we came across this report that was released on April the 7th, just a few days ago, like 3 days ago, as a matter of fact, a memorandum released by the Austin Police Department of a temporary suspension of a police sergeant, Jeffrey Dyer, number 3435, Internal Affairs Control number 2021-1244, because he did not take a report from another officer, a senior police officer, serious of, you know, a report of racism serious. He tried to convince this officer to not file a report. He said, look, you're going to allow outside people into the department. You're going to bring, you know, a bad light onto the department. You know, we'd rather you not just file this report. Let's let it go. Let's not do anything about it. And instead of just taking it serious and going ahead and filing a report and letting the person who actually, you know, made the racist comments, you know, or whatever they did, statements or whatever, rather than bringing it to light and let it be investigated. He decided, you know what, I'm not going to bring this to light. Now, the thing about this guy, Sergeant Jeffrey Dyer, the thing about him is he's married to the chief of staff of the Austin Police Department. That causes a problem because there's a video that the Austin Police Department released that talks about this initiative and the steps that they're taking to rein in and get rid of racism. Take a listen to this.
Even more progressive and leading the charge toward ending any system that is not inclusive and equitable with opportunities for prosperity for all.
by creating leaders in the department, we're valuing our personnel. That is going to empower them. That is going to make sure that we're creating opportunities for people of all walks of life, all races. We have to be very intentional about that.
I would say first, the role is participation. As a leader of the organization, it is important that we do lead from the front.
And see, that's an important video there, because the last speaker is the chief of staff, who happens to be the wife, of the person that actually has been suspended by the Austin Police Department. And we're talking about racism here. We're talking about changing the culture of law enforcement. We're talking about doing the things right, doing what we're supposed to do. And if you can't do this, on a family level, you can't do this. If the assistant police chief, the chief of staff, can't handle this at home, dealing with their spouse, then there's going to be a really big problem handling down the ranks of the rest of the officers. We're going to have a problem here. So we got to get this taken care of and get this reined in. If there's a problem, it needs to be brought up, needs to be handled and taken care of and nipped in the bud. We cannot have this blue line, protecting dirty cops, unfortunately. And so got to get this taken care of. So this is a very deep story. This goes way back. There's a lot of details in this story. So, as it comes to light, what is done in the dark will definitely come to light. So the temporary suspension, looks like this officer, Sergeant Jeffrey Dyer, has been suspended for 10 days because he failed to take a report. He tried to talk another officer out of taking a report. Also, he tried retaliation. He said, you know what? Just because you filed a report of something, that happened to you because someone called you a racist name or used a racist epithet, we're going to go back 4 or 5 years, 2 years, and we're going to dig up some dirt on you, something you did, a few years ago. And we're going to file a complaint against you. And that's how it works. Can't do stuff like that, people. We can't accept stuff like that. We got to clean this up. So unless, we got to take stuff like this very serious. We can't come together and clean up these things and take, the police department serious, if they're not going to clean house. You got to get rid of those, you got to clean house and take care of business. All right. So we're going to watch the story as it progresses, and dig into a little deeper there. Also, I want to talk about this study out of California. That's right. In other news, a study only done in California by Stanford University. Stanford University. That's right. So they did a study. I want to talk about that. But you know what? So most U.S. gun owners say they own firearms, according to this study, to protect themselves and their loved ones, according to the survey. But a study published Monday suggests that people who live with handgun owners are shot to death at a higher rate than does those who don't have such weapons at home. Now, and I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, wow, this is serious. We need to take this serious. Zach, I need to look at this. This is, and I'm reading the study. I'm like, okay, let's look at the numbers. Let's see what they're talking about. It says that, that we found zero evidence of any kind of protective effects from living in a home with a handgun, according to David Studdard of Stanford University researchers, who was led by author of the annual's internal medicine study. He says that the study has several shortcomings. I'm going to tell you the story has several shortcomings here. For example, the researchers said they could not determine which victims were killed by the handgun owners or with, the in-home weapons. They couldn't account for illegal guns and, looked only at handguns, not rifles or other firearms. Also, this study was only done in California. Only in California. And they're claiming this is a study by the United States. According to the United States, more people, you're more in danger of dying of a gun by a gun owner, and they're claiming this is a United States study here. But they only surveyed people from California who were 21 and older and were voters in California. So what does that say to you?
Well, you kind of went over a big fact about the study, is that it does not differentiate between illegal and legal handguns in homes, right?
Boom.
So someone who is a convicted felon and can't have a gun, but has one in their home, they're
Boom.
included in the study.
That is
right?
correct.
Mhm.
And then those that use a gun for self-defense
Mhm.
is included in the study.
They're included as well.
So it doesn't differentiate between self-defense, legal gun usage, and illegal gun usage.
Mhm.
And it only talks about California, only California, where, guns are, very restrictive.
Very. You
And
cannot
we're-
have a handgun or any gun with a capacity of greater than 10 rounds.
And we're only talking about registered voters in California who are very liberal, who are anti-firearm for the most part.
Absolutely.
That's what we're talking about. And let me look here. Stanford University, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I hope you're not getting a doctorate degree off of this study, because this study, Stanford University, is crap. And you should be ashamed of yourself.
They're going to be proud of it nonetheless.
you trust me, we're not going to take you serious. Okay, so we're going to look at this, we're going to read this, and we're going to laugh at this, because this is fake news. Oh boy, I tell you. In California, usually, in that it offers gun ownership data other than any other state. So they actually are forthcoming with their gun information there. Because hey, they have very strict laws. The study focused on nearly 600,000 Californians who did not own handguns but began living in homes with handguns between October 2004 and December 2016. And either because they started living with someone who owned one, or because someone in their household bought one. And so they might want to have like some type of training program, encourage people to take classes. There are things that you can do if you want to promote safety. The fact that California actually, listen here, Stanford, California, they don't promote safety. They promote banning firearms. When you ban something, people tend to want something that you ban. But if you promote safety, you encourage education, people tend to learn from that. So Stanford University, you might want to focus on that. We can see the biasness in your study. We can see the one-sidedness of this little report here. And we believe that is fake news. We come back from the break. We're going to talk about Austin, Texas, the airport. And man, what's going on with Austin? The airport is jam-packed. How is the airport is something that we need to look at as what's going to happen with the rest of Austin, Texas, and how it's going to affect other industries, not just the airport. We come back from the break. We're going to talk about that and more. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
This is Coleon Noir, and you're listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you regardless of the Miranda warnings because you're not in custody. If you're put in handcuffs but you say something incriminating on your own without being questioned, those statements can and will be used against you.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back and we're talking about, man, an entire family was killed during a robbery at a gun range in Grantville, Georgia. And man, if you know anything about what happened in Grantville, Georgia, if they release any videos, any pictures of the suspects, please pay attention to this because 40 guns were stolen. The entire family was killed, including the family's grandson, as they were closing up for the night. Also, the APD Assistant Police Chief and husband, APD Police Chief's husband, was suspended for not taking a report of racism seriously. Got to take racism seriously. In other news, a study only done in California by Stanford University researchers finds that higher homicide risk in homes with handguns. But unfortunately, that study was only done in the state of California, and it was very biased. So we're not taking that study serious at all. Neiman Marcus in Chicago uses gun-sniffing dogs to make arrests. Yeah, I think I kind of like that. I'm good with that. Yeah. And the suspect in the Sacramento mass shooting was released early, weeks prior to the shooting despite DA protests. Man, this seems to be a common problem. Either a judge or a district attorney is refusing to do their job, and then this person is a career criminal that goes out and commits another crime that's even worse than the first crime. They graduate. And also, which U.S. president is responsible for criminal depression? Which United States president is responsible for defunding the nut house and letting the crazy people out of the nut house? As you look in Los Angeles, California, you're looking in Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, New Orleans, we got a lot of crazy people that are roaming around. What U.S. president is responsible for allowing and decriminalizing and defunding, let's get this right, defunding the program for the same asylums, keeping the nut house locked up, the nutties locked up. I'm not a medical professional, so I can say nut house. I'm going to talk about that. All right, so let's take a look at, let's go to Austin, Texas. So in Austin, Texas, U.S. Representative Lloyd Doggett is asking federal officials to expedite a request from the Austin-Bergstrom International Airport directed to increase the number of agents as the faculty contends with an ongoing passenger surge. And I'm telling you, if you're deciding to travel with your firearm and you're going to leave out of Austin, you definitely want to show up at least 4 hours before your flight if you're leaving on a Sunday or a Monday. If you're traveling with a gun, you want to make sure that where you're starting out from, you can legally own and possess that firearm. Your destination where you end, you can legally own and possess that firearm. You want to make sure that your gun is in a hard case, lockable case. You want to make sure that it's if there are 2 holes in that case for locks, then you should have 2 locks. If there are 3 holes in that case for locks, then have 3 locks. Hard case, lockable case. No ammunition in the gun. No ammunition in the magazine. No ammunition except in the original factory box or carton. So in my hard case, lockable case, I'm going to put my box of ammunition, my empty handgun, my empty magazine. I'm going to close it, lock it, put that in my luggage, close it, lock it, go to the ticket counter, inform the ticket agent at the ticket counter that I'm traveling with a firearm and ammunition, and then They may inspect it right there at the ticket counter. They may have me sign some paperwork to acknowledge I have a firearm. They may have me go to another area where the TSA agent inspects it there, and then it goes underneath the plane. It gets checked to its final destination. You cannot carry on a firearm as carry-on luggage onto an airplane. It has to be in checked luggage. You cannot go through security. You cannot go through the metal detectors with no firearms, no ammunition, not one bullet, no parts, no pieces, no holsters, no uppers, no lowers, no triggers, no springs, no screws, no nada through security. Everything needs to be locked, and it needs to be secured and declared at the counter so it can be checked to its final destination. And this is a very common problem in Austin. So apparently in Austin, we don't have enough agents, enough employees to work at the Austin airport. And this is this is something we need to take a look at, because this is something that we're seeing that's going over to other industries like restaurants as your waiters, your wait staff. It's a very common problem where there's not enough employees that are working. I don't know where the employees have gone, to be honest with you. I don't know where all the waiters are, where the waitresses are. I don't know where all the TSA agents have gone, or is it just Austin is just growing that fast? Maybe that's what it is. We have so many people that are moving to Austin in such a great rate that we can't keep up with the demand of the customers. And we need to be nice to our wait staff. We need to be nice to the people that are servicing us, because there are not that many of them. And then we're going to inflect their happiness, their well-being. They're going to take care of the next person, and it's just going to affect the entire day. So we need to be nice to people, go out of our way to be polite for the ones that actually show up to work that particular day. And it seems to be a problem in all industries, and that's why our restaurants are closing early. That's why, it's just, man, it's a big problem. You go to Wendy's, you go to McDonald's, you're going to, any restaurant I go, I want to go to Red Lobster. I want to go to, I don't even want to name some of these places. I don't want to give them any business there.
Have you ever seen the movie Waiting?
Yes, I love that movie, by the way.
Yeah. Be nice to your wait staff.
Oh, trust me. I'm nice to anyone that brings my food. Let me tell you. Yes.
It's a smart thing to do.
Very nice and polite. I don't send anything back. I never send anything back. I don't care if I'm unhappy with it. I don't care if it's bad. I don't care. I just don't send it back. How's your food today? It's great. Thank you. And I tip. Now, if I don't like it, what I will do is I'm going to tip. I'm going to leave a little nasty note. But I tip. I will write a nasty note and let you know exactly how I feel once I'm leaving, but I'm not going to send anything back.
That's part of the tip?
Just a tip. That's right. That's right. And they're going to get a good tip. A big tip. All of the tip. Okay, I'll stop. Oh, man, the producer's he's not even looking at me. I'm not getting any love today.
You're good.
I'm good.
That means you're fine.
That means
whatever you're saying.
Man, usually I get a little snarl, a little look, a little finger wave or something. Show me some love. All right.
God's gonna get you for that.
I know. And let's go over to let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about some gun sniffing dogs. Man, there's some gun sniffing dogs.
Neiman Marcus.
Neiman Marcus. A thief who was armed with loaded 9mm pistol and carrying $1,000 of stolen items. He got caught in Neiman Marcus. Shame on you. This is out of Chicago here. So Derek Latham, 23, was arrested on Chicago's Magnificent Mile on Monday when the canine working at the store alerted security that there was a man carrying a gun in the store. Guards then followed the Latham and watched as he grabbed a belt and 2 belt buckles before trying to leave. Now, a Neiman Marcus spokesperson said dogs are at the store to help ensure safe shopping for all of its customers, on the Magnificent Mile. Now, I've never been to the Magnificent Mile. I got to check that out one of these days. I've been to Chicago quite a few times. I've been to the Taste of Chicago, but I've never been to the Magnificent Mile. I don't even know what that is. Have you heard of it?
Magnificent Mile.
Magnificent Mile. Thank you, Zach.
Does this really sound like a place you want to go?
Magnificent Mile. It sounds like a place I want to go.
Dogs are going to smell you. Are they going to smell a gun?
Well, they're going to smell something. To reinforce our commitment, we're investing.
You're going to upset the dogs, Michael.
We're investing in additional security measures, according to this story, and the company says that, they're trying to beef up their security a little bit and try to reduce, try to stop the fact that people are going in, armed or taking stuff and loading carts and, running out the store. They're trying to reduce that. 'Cause that's happened in California quite a bit, where people
just walk out with merchandise.
Yeah, they walk into the store, fill their shopping carts up, and just walk out of the store there and load the items in their vehicle. Because, like, for example, in Texas, theft during the daytime, you can't use deadly force against someone who's committing theft during the daytime. So, if someone walks into a store in the daytime, casually walks in, takes something, and puts it in their shopping cart, and then take that shopping cart, roll out the front door, and just load up their vehicle, jump in the vehicle, and pull off, that is considered theft. It's not robbery. Robbery is taking something with force. Robbery is saying, hey, give me the money out of the register. Give me, your purse, or give me your phone. That's actually robbery. Aggravated robbery is using a weapon, taking something with, causing injury to a person when you take it from them. That's aggravated robbery. They're not committing robbery or aggravated robbery. They're just committing theft. They're swiping it, just grabbing the stuff, putting it in the shopping cart, rolling out the front door, and putting in the vehicle, and that is theft. You can't use deadly force against someone for theft during the daytime, unfortunately. Isn't that sad?
Does that make you sad?
It makes me a little sad. Just a little sad. Just makes me tear up.
Not during the daytime, Mike.
Yeah, I'm just like, can you wait 30 minutes? Can you give me just 5 more minutes, please? I just need 5 minutes. I need 30 minutes before the sunrise, 30 minutes after sunset.
Wait right here.
Just right there.
Keep doing what you're doing.
DRT. You send him give him a 115 send off. Let me tell you.
DRT nap.
That's right. DRT nap and a 115 send off. You gonna learn today, let me tell you. All right, so the Cook County Assistant Attorney, I can't name this guy's name, said that the security officers allegedly found $995 worth of stolen merchandise on this guy out of Chicago who stole these items, or trying to steal items out of the Neiman Marcus there in Chicago. The dogs caught him. And he had previously been arrested for carrying a handgun in a Christian Dior store in September. Despite his repeated offenses, Latham was allowed to go free after posting 10% of the $30,000 bail and promising not to return to the store again. So he didn't go back to that store. He just went to a different store. So he didn't. Hey, look, Your Honor, I didn't break my promise. You said I couldn't go to that store over there. You told me I couldn't go to that store, the Christian Dior. You didn't say I couldn't go to Neiman Marcus and steal from there. You just said Christian Dior. I didn't go back to Christian Dior. Well, I tell you, sometimes I just don't know.
Semantics.
It is. We come back from the break. I got some more stories to talk to you about. Man, we got some stuff out of New Orleans. I got a funny story for you. It's hilarious. We're going to go to Maryland. We're going to talk about Florida. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Hi, this is Stephen Williford, the Barefoot Defender. I get my global gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It.
Hello, my name is Edwin Walker. I'm an independent program attorney with Texas Law Shield. I want to talk to you today about an issue that we see on a daily basis. In fact, you yourself will encounter it on a daily basis, and that is the subject of road rage. I am sure that you have all seen road rage. You may have actually been involved in a road rage incident. Now, if you're a responsible gun owner, I'm going to give you a few words of advice on how to react when you find yourself in one of these unfortunate road rage incidents. While on the roadways, we all observe something that makes us upset. Whether it's poor driving, unsafe driving, or just simply somebody being very discourteous. By all means, you should restrain yourself from engaging that person and telling them how bad their actions were, because this can be perceived as an act of road rage. If you're a lawful gun owner, you have a firearm in your vehicle, you do not want to be viewed as the aggressor in a road rage situation. Now, with regard to a situation where an individual has chosen to rage against you, and you are the actual victim of the road rage, if you and the other individuals are still in their automobiles, do not use your firearm to respond to any of the rager's activities. This is because law enforcement views the fact that you're both still safely in your metal boxes as removing any threat of immediacy that you may be harmed. So please, if you have a gun, somebody is raging against you, forget you have a gun. Don't display it, don't brandish it, don't show it, don't point it, and for God's sake, don't fire it. This could result in a lot of trouble for you. Now let's look at a situation where a road rage incident has escalated. It has escalated to the point where one of the participants has actually gotten out of their vehicle. We recommend that you stay in your vehicle at all times. Do not exit your vehicle, because the person who exits their vehicle is going to be looked at as the aggressor. If the other individual has exited their vehicle and they are not in contact with your vehicle and they do not have a weapon, then do not feel that you can display your weapon in an act of self-defense. People are allowed to just simply stand there and scream at you, scream whatever they want. Until they make a demonstrative effort to try to harm you, there is no immediate threat that would justify displaying or shooting or brandishing your firearm. Now, in the event that the person shows their own weapon, in particular a firearm, the existence of their weapon would give you reasonable belief that there was an immediate threat.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so I want to talk a little bit about criminal depression. I want to talk about suicide, and we don't talk about this enough. We don't discuss suicide. And I want to tell you this, if you're having any mental health crisis, you're needing to talk to someone, 24/7, 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can always call 512-472-4357. That is 512-472-4357 if you want to talk to someone. And I'm going to talk a little bit about suicide because we don't discuss this enough. Because a young man, an Austin man, committed suicide in jail after seeking medical care, and it raises question. This guy was arrested, put in Travis County jail, and he was have a mental health crisis. But the only place they can put him was the jail. There was no facility to put him in. And that's not where you need to go if you're having a mental health crisis, where you need to get some mental health assistance. And I have to think about, how do we get to this? How do we get to where, we're locking up, we're trying to put people, we have these people that are all around, different major cities, Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Atlanta, Georgia, New York City, Chicago, New Orleans, these major cities where we have people that are having mental health crises or just roaming the streets, walking around and causing havoc to the public. How do we get to where they're just roaming around, roaming free, not getting any assistance, and the only recourse is when they act up is to lock them up and put them in jail? How do we get here? Well, unfortunately, we got here because there was a program, way back when, that let's see, who was the president?
Ronald Reagan.
But there was a president before Reagan, Jimmy Carter, started, a program and funded a program to fund mental health. And then when Ronald Reagan went into office, he defunded that program. And so that kind of defunded the sane asylums, and, we didn't have a place, to put people that were mentally ill. And so here we are in 2022, we're complaining about the homeless situation. We're complaining about, how, we're not handling the homeless. We're not doing what we need to do is for the homeless. what we're talking about is really people that are having mental health issues, a mental health crisis. The majority of the people that we have on the streets are having a mental health crisis. And how we got here is because when Ronald Reagan was in office, he actually defunded the program, that actually would have helped people with mental illness. And that's why we're here today. And so this young man, if he had any remaining doubt, that, this person, JJ, needed a hospital care, it surely evaporated, when his brother saw this guy on the I-35 access road in Austin, Texas on the evening of February the 7th. And Mark had spent 8 hours trying to talk JJ, this individual, down from a psychotic break. He showed up to help, and he was just out of his mind, according to what the brother had to say. He didn't know what was happening in the world. He kept asking, his brother, what are we doing? What are we doing here? He would ask, his brother the same question 100 times in a row. And so, this guy ended up, eventually going to the Travis County jail, and he ended up locking him up because there was no other place for them to put him. And he ended up committing suicide in the hospital, in the jail there at Travis County. And this is not the first suicide in Travis County. This is not the first suicide of someone in a county jail. This happens, and this is not the first time we've come across someone who's done, just outlandish and crazy things where they have a mental health crisis in public. And the reason, and just so you know, I'm gonna make sure I say this again. If you're having some type of mental health crisis, please, if you're thinking of doing something to yourself, having issues, you see someone having issues, call 800-273-8255. That's 1-800-873-8255. If you're in the Austin, Texas area, you can call 512-472-4357. It's sad that, we do see people all the time throughout our day that are having different types of issues. And jail is not the right place for them. We need to have some type of facility to put these people where they can get the needed assistance, the mental health that they actually need. And we need to put the funding back into that program so they can get this assistance. So we're not having, unfortunately, I hate to say this, so we're not having to deal with this, in the public. Because all it does is cause problems, and it creates crime, and it just creates a growing issue. Just today, as I was on my way to the gun range, this morning at was it 9:30 in the morning, this guy was walking down Interstate 71 firing rounds from a handgun in the air for no apparent reason, just firing bullets. He fired 10 shots in the air as he was walking down Interstate 71 between I-35 and the airport. Mental health crisis. That's what we're talking about. We're going to have to do something, because we don't, this problem is just going to get worse. And we're seeing this, we're in post-COVID-19, and people have been locked up for quite a while, and it's coming to a head now. We got to do something about this. Once again, if you're having a you're having a mental health crisis, take a minute. Call 1-800. You can talk to someone. Call 1-800-273-8255. If you're in Austin, Texas, call 512-472-4357. Let's look at the hospital. Let's talk about that. So, the Austin Chronicle tried to get in touch with media reps at Dale Seaton. They called 6 times and left messages 4 times. But even if they had returned, their calls, it's not likely they would have been able to tell, them anything at all, because of HIPAA laws. Whatever their rationale, Dale Seaton's action was not unusual. This is a real thing that happens to hundreds and hundreds of people, according to what Kathy Mitchell said with the, justice, who's a justice advocate for people present themselves to the local hospital emergency room. The hospital calls the police, and the police take them to the jail. Hospitals are not giving emergency mental health care, hospital level care, and they're calling the police on people in their own emergency rooms. It is this is just crazy, because people are having a mental health crisis. The hospital's not capable of handling this. They're just there to take care of immediate issues of people who are injured, getting them patched up and getting you out the front door and sending you home as fast as they possibly can. Not there to take care of mental crisis or mental or issues or, criminal depression or anything like that nature. And so, that's just, it's a problem. And that's where this problem comes from. Unfortunately, this goes all the way back to when President Ronald Reagan was in office. And I know sometimes the truth hurts. Got to take an aspirin with it and swallow it. That's how it is sometimes. All right. Also, I want to talk about, New York. We probably don't have enough time to talk about this. When we come back from the break, though, I do want to talk about New York. So we'll talk about an innocent woman who was shot, killed by a stray bullet near a Grand Concourse. That's going to be interesting. I want to talk about a sheriff's deputy who loses 3 guns in San Jacinto. Talk about that. That took place in, and where is that? That was in in Riverside, California. Talk about that. I want to talk about Maryland. I want to go to Maryland, and in Maryland, we're going to discuss the fact that in Maryland, they're talking about They're trying to outlaw ghost guns in Maryland. Why? Why are you trying to get rid of ghost guns? Also, the police are trying to encourage people not to take, don't take your personal safety into your own hands. Don't rig things. Don't try to stop criminals from breaking into your stuff. You know what? And I'm sorry. I'm changing my mind when it comes to this. You know what? If we've defunded the police, we've taken the resources away from our law enforcement, and so I'm like, you know what? Do what you got to do to keep these guys from breaking into your stuff and taking your stuff. Because the police are not going to be there enough time to fill out a report. You call 911. There's not enough police. There's so many calls. There's so many things that are going on. It's not that they don't have enough police. It's the fact that there's so many things that are happening at the same time. You got to take care of yourself by yourself. So you're going to have to take, your own personal protection in your own hands. You have to take, matters in your own hands and deal with it yourself. So you're going to have to do what you have to do to protect your family, whether that's rigging something, keeping that person from breaking into your house, but you need to stay within the confines of the law. If you're going to rig something that cannot cause death or serious bodily injury in Texas, as long as it doesn't cause death or serious bodily injury, then you can use it. So keep that in mind. We come back from the break and I talk about that. Got a video to show you. We're going to talk about a little more. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Hey, this is AWR Hawkins, Breitbart News, and you're listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, we're going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were complying with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back and we're talking about Florida. Let's go down to Florida, the Sunshine State. I love Florida. And when I retire, that's where I'm being told I'm going. I don't have a choice, Zach. I've been told we're going to Florida.
We better stock up on guns, ammo, and armor.
And prepare to run from the hurricane and shoot at the hurricane. That's right. And yeah, got to stock up on body armor, because apparently these idiots out of Florida, it's always a Florida man that does something stupid. So let's talk about this. 16-year-old was killed when teens were wearing body armor, taking turns shooting at each other in Florida. So Dumb and Dumberer were in Florida.
Why would you do that?
Going back and forth, just shooting at each other with body armor. Hey, let's see how this works. Hey, okay, now you shoot at me. Oh, wait, okay. Now, you put the body armor on, and now you reuse the same body armor, and you shoot at me. Oh, wait, okay. Now, you take it off, and I'm going to put it on, and now you shoot at me. That's not how it works, people.
Are you stupid or something?
Dumb and Dumberer. I just don't get it. Bellevue, Florida. Of course, that's going to be North Florida. You know what I call North Florida?
What?
Lower Alabama or Lower Mississippi. There's some bunch of dummies up there, I'm telling you right now. Stay down south. Don't go up north. Don't fool with those fools in North Florida. I'm telling you right now. Dumb and Dumberer.
These are just
That's
children.
what rednecks do.
They're kids.
Yeah, they just get what they got. What they got. They learned today. They got learned. That's all I got to say. 16-year-olds were killed, swapping body armor and taking turns shooting each other.
Juveniles.
I'm just like, where are the parents?
Yeah.
Where are the parents? Save us. Somebody. That's Florida, you know. Man, I tell you, it's something else. All right, let's go to Maryland. Over in Maryland. So Maryland, they decided to outlaw the so-called ghost guns after Governor Hogan decides against a veto. So a ban on so-called ghost guns, difficult to trace weapons that lack serial numbers or are sold, they're sold in pieces to evade Maryland's background check rules, according to this story, will go into effect after Governor Larry Hogan announced Friday that he will not veto the measure. So he says he's not going to veto it. He's going to let it go into effect. Regulating the so-called ghost guns has been a top priority of gun control advocates for several years, but was opposed by many gun rights groups. Some top law enforcement officials have also pressed for tighter rules. With Baltimore Police Commissioner Michael Harrison and others tell lawmakers that such weapons are showing up with greater frequency at crime scenes. And the new ban and regulations is a positive step as we seek to stem the tide of violent crime. So they're also saying that, they went on to criticize the Democrat-controlled General Assembly for not taking action on this separate proposal to lengthen prison sentences for crimes involving firearms. And the ghost gun legislation, according to what they're saying, it does nothing to penalize those who actually pull the trigger on firearms. So we're going to ban the guns, try to ban the guns that you still can actually make. You can actually get the parts and pieces and make them at home, but you're not going to punish people for using them. That makes no sense whatsoever. I just don't get it. I don't get, like in Austin, we had a mass shooting in Austin, Texas, a mass shooting, and the DA in Killeen, Texas had an opportunity to prevent that by prosecuting the same guy that committed the mass shooting in a separate shooting, but that DA in Killeen, Texas did nothing. And I guarantee that person is going to get reelected because people are not paying attention to what's going on. The DA in Austin, Texas, doing that same mass shooting, that guy also possibly allegedly committed another shooting 2 years prior to that the Austin DA had an opportunity to prosecute him for that particular alleged shooting and did nothing. But I guarantee you he's probably going to get reelected for another term, because we don't pay attention. We continue to put the same people in office, that are just not doing their jobs. And I just don't get it. Why we're allowing the district attorneys to not prosecute and punish people that are clearly committing crimes and graduating. And there's another story that I want to talk about, and that's over in, in New Orleans. There's a video I want you to take a look at here that we have a video out of New Orleans where they're urging the New Orleans Police Department, saying, residents, please, no, don't take matters into your own hands, because this video shows someone rigging their pickup truck with a flashbang grenade. And I'm all for it. I'm done with it. I'm done telling people, saying, no, don't do it. Call the police. Let the police handle it, because they're not going to handle it. Your district attorney's not going to handle it. Your police department's not going to handle it. So you know what? It's up to us, the citizens, to teach these people a lesson to not break into our crap. Enough is enough. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of waking up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning trying to keep people from breaking into a gun store. Oh, my God. Why do I have to work so hard to keep you from breaking into the freaking gun store? Why I got to work so hard to keep you out of the parking lot trying to ram through the front entrance? I have to work that freaking hard. This is crazy. So you know what? Fine. I'm going to take matters into my own hands and do what I need to do, and deal with it myself. But I'm still going to stay within the confines of the law. But you know what? And they're saying, hey, don't do it, people. You know what? New Orleans PD, Austin Police Department, you're like, don't do it. Why? What are you going to do? You're not going to arrest a criminal, so I'm not worried about you arresting me. So why should I not do what I'm going to do? I'm going to do whatever I need to do to protect my property, because I'm not worried about you arresting me, because you're not arresting the bad guy who's committing the crime. Take a look at this crazy video. It's rolling, you know. And good for the vehicle owner, good for the property owner, doing what you need to do to keep these thugs from stealing your vehicle. Good for you. Keep charging. Do it again. Go big or go home. That's what I say. Go big or go home. Enough is enough. And we're tired of it. Sick and tired of it. Over and over again. Also, I want to talk about NYPD. In the New York Police Department, an innocent woman was shot and killed by a stray bullet near a Grand Concourse. You know, this is a very, very sad story. You know, it's sad that, you know, you're going about your day. And I get people into the license to carry handgun course that will say, hey, you know what, Michael, I don't go into bad places. But when I go into bad places, I take my firearm with me. You know what? I don't ever go into bad places. A lot of people don't go into bad places, you know, but guess what? It's not about bad places. It's about that person who's trying to kill someone and you happen to be there while they're trying to kill or rob someone else. And they accidentally either kill you, shoot you, or injure you. That's what it's about. It's not about those bad places that you're going to. Is what if you happen to be someone and you're not the intended target. Someone else is the intended target and you just happen to be there. You need to make sure that you arm yourself. Come to class, take a license to carry handgun course. Learn what use of force and deadly force is. Learn, you know, to stay in the confines of the law. Learn what to do once you use your firearm. Once you pull that gun out and use it, you know what? Then what do? Remember, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You know, I like to, you know, like I tell my family, shields up, red alert. Now you've used your gun to protect yourself. Now you need to raise your shields and, you know, and now further protect yourself from everyone else. Because now you just use your gun for self-defense. Now we need to make sure that you call your attorney, exercise your rights, because you have a constitutional right to exercise your right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and let your attorney do the talking for you. I cannot stress any of that at all. And I say that over and over and over again. And the reason I say that is because people always talk. You know, I have things that happen to me, you know, throughout the day. I have things that have happened to me in the last few months, you know, and people turn around and look at me. It's like, oh, man, Michael, why didn't you make a statement? Why didn't you say anything? You know why? Because I have a right to remain silent. Anything I say can and will be used against me in a court of law. And I always remember that police officer that shows up, they have a camera that's recording. And it's recording back to that vehicle. Anything I say, not only can it be used against me in a criminal case, it also can be used against me in a civil case. Always keep that stuff in mind. Because once you get past the criminal side, there may be a civil side. You also can be sued. So always keep all of that stuff in mind. So shut it up. Your mouth is the one thing that's going to get you in trouble. Zip it. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. And this poor lady in New York City, you know, was shot just going about her day, you know, trying to go from point A to point B, you know, at 7 p.m., trying to go home, and just happened to be caught in the crossfire because she was in a bad place or happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Fortunately, in Texas, when you're on the city bus or you're catching the Metro Rail in Texas, you can carry a gun on the city bus. You can carry a gun on the Metro Rail. Because in Texas, we believe in the Second Amendment. We believe in self-defense. So don't forget that. On the city bus and Metro Rail, unlike the bus driver and the train, you know, operator, they can't carry, but you can carry. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Folks, this is Doug Man Jones. And I get my gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you, without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you regardless of the Miranda warnings because you're not in custody. If you're put in handcuffs, but you say something incriminating on your own without being questioned, those statements can and will be used against you because you're not being interrogated. You're just starting to spout off. This is why it's imperative that you know your rights, and you shouldn't rely on the police to read them to you. Affirmatively invoke your rights. Say, I'm invoking my right to remain silent, and my right to my attorney. Once you do that, the police legally shouldn't continue questioning you without your attorney present. But remember, there's a second part to this equation. After invoking your rights, you must exercise those rights. That means you have to keep your mouth closed. Protect yourself. Don't let the legal system take advantage of you after an incident. And Law Shield members, if you've been involved in a self-defense incident, remember to call the emergency hotline and speak with your independent program attorney.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
Man, Zach, you hear about that sad story in Austin, Texas, down by Barton Springs, I think it was. You had a bunch of people from the deaf community were at a food truck on Barton Springs. Yeah, very, very sad story there. And as they were standing at the food truck, a car and a truck got into an accident. And one of the vehicles actually crashed into the people that were standing there at the food truck, and because they were deaf, they didn't hear the crash. And so they're standing there waiting for their food, and one of the vehicles just crammed into them, and several people, a little less than a dozen people were injured. It's very, very sad situation. And most of them work for the same company, and they were in town for some type of like a deaf convention, some type of convention or something like that.
Yeah, the Deaf Nation Expo.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a very, very sad situation, man. And we have a lot of customers that come into the store from the deaf community, and I actually, I have all types of friends. I love to party with my people in the deaf community.
What?
Yes, they love to drink.
What?
That's right.
What?
So that's right.
God's gonna get you for that.
You better stop it. You better stop it. I'm gonna tell somebody.
What'd you say?
And so, yes, right. I have quite a few friends in the deaf community, and boy, I tell you, we love to get together and go to my favorite watering hole and have a couple drinks. And boy, they can put some back. Stop it. Stop it. I see you over there. That's right. And so, definitely my hearts go out to them. Standing there just trying to order food, and it's sad because you're talking about a road that's 35 miles an hour. How in the world do you lose control, to that extent where you run over that many people at a road that's supposed to be 35 miles an hour.
Well, it T-boned somebody.
Jeez.
Is what I read.
Yeah. It's 35 miles an hour. My goodness. You can't stop, Jesus, they speed had to taken place.
Maybe it was a little car and a giant car, and it just
is a car
like
in a
pinball with
pickup
them.
truck.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So they're saying 10 of the employees of the Utah company, were in Austin for the definition, like you said, Expo, were injured in this food truck crash. It's just very, very sad. According to the press release, the name of the company was Sorensen Communications. The employees who have not been identified publicly were gathered near the food truck when the crash occurred. And a common question I get is people ask me, well, if I'm deaf, do I have to wear ear protection? And the answer to that is yes, you do. You still can injure your eardrums. So you definitely
You're deaf?
Yeah, you still need to wear ear protection, hearing protection. That is correct. That is correct. Yes.
What?
Yes, that is correct. They still need to use hearing protection. That is correct.
If they can't hear anything.
You still need to use hearing
Why?
protection. I'm not a medical professional. I just know you still need to use hearing protection. All right. So yes, absolutely. And so you know what? I've also had someone come take a class from me that want to shoot that was blind.
Really?
Yes. Would you be willing to teach someone who's blind how to shoot?
How do you even begin to do that?
Well, they're blind. And so I believe the Second Amendment is for everyone.
We had somebody
do you believe
here
that,
in
do
the
you
studio.
Believe,
no,
do you believe?
We had somebody in the studio. Was it like 2 years ago? The guy that was blind that wanted to shoot. You know who I'm talking about? Do you remember?
No, because you don't have dementia.
No. You remember the guy that came in.
I don't remember.
He was blind.
He was blind?
Yeah, he was blind.
Okay.
I cannot remember who he was.
Okay.
But yeah, basically he wanted to carry and he was blind.
Hey, I'm all for it. I believe the Second Amendment is for everyone.
How are you going to shoot
I don't care if you're deaf, you're
if
blind.
you don't know what's behind them?
Well, okay. So let's take a step back for a second. So when even when you're blind, you have senses that are greater than their senses are greater than we are.
I don't believe that. It's not some daredevil crap.
No, it's not daredevil. It's not daredevil.
You're going to be able to hear if somebody's behind the other person?
Okay. So what we're saying is they can sense things and they can hear things that we don't hear.
No, they don't have sonar. I can hear what they hear. Okay.
You're not paying attention to it because you're using your eyes.
But I can hear it.
They're using their hearing. Okay. And so
I'm not going to give them special privilege.
I'm not giving someone a special privilege. I'm saying I can definitely give them training. I'm not saying they can qualify to get a license.
Okay.
But on the constitutional carry, they can carry a gun. Now, what do you say to that?
I say, ooh.
Now, what you got to say to that?
Ooh, I hope I'm not behind whoever they're trying to shoot.
On the constitutional carry, if you're blind, you can carry a gun in Texas.
Make sure
but you can't
they
get
don't shoot
you
somebody
can't get a license,
that's
but you
like
can carry a
in
gun.
between them and me. Okay.
Yeah. Now, what do you got to say to that?
I say, ooh, I want to be out of that situation before they start shooting.
Okay. I think the Second Amendment is for everyone.
Of course, yeah.
Everyone deserves training. Everyone should, be able to take a class and learn, to have someone take them to the range, teach them, what they're doing wrong.
Do I need to be that person to take them to the range?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Better warn me beforehand.
No, absolutely. Let's see. What else? What else is going on in the news? Anything else we missed? Yeah, because we talked about, let's see, what did we talk about today? We talked about the family in Georgia. Man, that's a very, very sad situation where you lose your entire family. Also, your grandson, is working in the store, young teenager working in the store, shot and killed. And it's got to be someone they know, either someone they know or someone that's been there before. For them to be comfortable in letting that person in the store that late at night, they knew that person, or someone they'd known before.
Yeah, it was right before closing, huh?
Yeah. So that's very sad. And that's your dangerous hours. Opening and closing are very dangerous. And those are times that, I'm very skeptical about. I'm skeptical of everything nowadays. I'm
very skeptical.
I'm very paranoid about everything. Mm-hmm. And if you don't realize that about me, I'm actually very skeptical and very paranoid about everybody. I don't trust a lot of people.
It's kept you alive this long.
So I'm always looking at people. I'm looking at you with a side eye. You say something to me, I look at you. Ask my employees. No, they they know. I'm either whispering
Like,
or
I don't like his eyes.
don't like his
Yep.
eyes. I'm just letting you know.
Ooh.
I don't like this person right here. This
I've heard
person, I
that
don't
before
trust him.
from you.
That's
Yep.
right. Hey, I don't trust this person. Don't like this eyes.
Keep an eye out.
That's right. Watch this person. So I'm very skeptical of people. Don't trust a lot of people. That's just how I am. Sorry. Yeah,
Well, that's how you don't get hurt by those bad people, right?
That's
by
right.
not trusting everybody.
And I've been wrong. I've been wrong sometimes. I felt bad. One day, I'll tell you, this is one day I really felt really bad. This is really bad. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I'm going to tell you. I had this customer, come into the store, and his ID didn't look like him. It looked like a totally different person because he had lost like a lot of weight. And his ID looked like it's just like totally different person. That's all I'm going to say. And so, we're looking at this ID and like, dude, this is not him. It just can't be. It just doesn't look like him. This guy's trying to buy a gun with someone else's ID. And so we're like, let's call the police. So we called the police. That's right. We called the police. Police show up. They catch him outside and everything. They question him and kept and detained him and questioned him. And turned out, it really was him. Just didn't look like him to me. I'm like that sometimes. I'm very skeptical, of people sometimes, and there are times I've been wrong, and a lot of times I've been more right than I have been wrong. I'll put it to you that way, and I'd rather be wrong and apologize to the person, give them, some free ammo, apologize and send them on their way, than to be wrong and that person use a gun and end up killing someone.
Did you apologize to the guy?
I apologize. I apologize. I gave him some free stuff. Gave him a hug. I said, I'm so sorry. But we had doubts. Unfortunately. And I have to act on that. When in doubt, act on it. And I'd rather do that than be totally wrong and risk the chance of someone else. One of my guns end up killing or being used in a crime.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I tell you what, man. We've covered a lot today. We did good. We actually have an extra minute, and I actually don't have anything to talk about. This is like the first time in months. We've actually covered everything and actually finished all of our topics. What are you going to do this week? Anything exciting?
I'm going to go to Dallas.
What?
Easter.
Are you going to be in Dallas
Easter
next
weekend? Yeah.
Man, oh.
I know. I'm just laying this on you now.
Yeah, I know. Thank you for telling me. Nice. Someone played a trick on me. On Friday, they're like, Sunday is Mother's Day. I was like, what? No. I was like, no. I started calling. I'm dialing my siblings. I'm like, 911. Sunday's Mother's Day. And I looked at my calendar. I was like, no, it's not. That's in May. Oh my God. No, it's not. It's Easter next Sunday. Okay, so Easter's next Sunday. All right, so
Jesus died and then he came back.
That's right. And we believe in praising the Lord and pass the ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
If you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy a sword.
That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. Like my customers that came to the gun range today to learn how to shoot, they went to church this morning. And after church,
oh, that was fun.
They came to the gun range. You like them?
I taught them.
That's a fun couple. I love that group. A group of 4 people,
They were.
husband and wife, actually came to the range and shot. As always, more guns equals less crime. You go out there and you buy yourself a gun. You've been listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.